I would, as a DP, never be too much in a hurry to get an agent. I would be ambitious, and I would be stressed about following a strong creative ambition.
For sure.
And I would.
The agent thing works itself out when it's supposed to.
You can get so much advice from people like us, but it might be too early to get representation. Actually, it might be better to wait just a little bit.
Welcome to Cinema 5D on the Go. Moving conversations about moving images with filmmakers and industry leaders. Brought to you by Tilta, Blackmagic Design, Manfrotto, and Olympus OND in association with Sony. This is your host, Nino Leitner.
So you mentioned yesterday, like, I mean, what I actually want to talk about is what if I sign up, like if somebody signs up with an agent, what's the usual process? I mean, like if you're starting out and you're really trying to get jobs, right? You probably want to, oops, wrong lane. Sorry about that. You have to build up your portfolio, your reel. And actually, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. The reel thing, yesterday you guys talked about montages versus, you know, like what is a reel?
Yeah.
I find there's a little bit of a misconception in Europe versus the US. When people talk about a show reel here, they very often mean a montage.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is a misconception in a way, because that's not what it should be, right?
No, it's your show reel is your body of work that you've chosen for the reel, or we've chosen either way. But yes, I completely agree that it is a misconception that it is often a montage as your show reel. And I think at one point it was really fun to do montages. It was a way for DPs to pull their best shots and, you know, kind of make it sexy when maybe the full spot wasn't. But what happened was that it ended up creating a sense of deception between the producers and the directors, that they weren't getting all the info.
Yeah.
They weren't getting the whole thing.
Yeah.
And seeing somebody's ability throughout the spot is much more powerful and telling than just a montage or a couple shots.
Interesting.
I totally agree. I feel montages are cheating in a way.
Yeah.
You know, I understand why you want to do it. I understand if, let's say something really specific, you want to do more car commercials, you kind of feel like you've done maybe 5 or 6 okay car commercials, but if you put it all together, you can kind of show what you can, but it's not showing what you can as
Kind of becomes its own spot, right?
Well, and you can do that. Like there's been times where I've started a reel or ended a reel with maybe 30 seconds of an auto montage, whatever. But then each spot that's in this montage, the full one is still in the reel.
Yeah, I've even sat with an editor taking out car shots from a feature film to get a DP on a car commercial.
100%.
Because, you know, now we're talking car commercials, but that's a really conservative market, and you know, the client wants the car.
You can totally create a reel.
So there are ways to trick, kind of, but so you can do these things. You can do the montage as well, but you send it on a link. You send it on a separate email. Say, oh, by the way, this is it. I wouldn't front it on the opening page.
No, it doesn't go on your website. Like this is for submission purposes. Unless, again, you are only marketing yourself as like a strict tabletop DP or a strict auto DP or something to that effect, and that would make sense. But be mindful that that is the only type of work that you will get, you know, if that's what you're presenting. And like Casper was saying, I mean, we get ridiculously creative when showing examples of what clients can do, because when you're talking to people, they don't know the person and they don't know the work. They don't know necessarily everybody's capabilities. Rarely do they. And we have to spoon feed them what they're able to do so that the producer can quickly connect it to what it is that they're looking to place and find.
And I would say, like, because you mentioned this yesterday, I know from the DPs you work with that you've managed to take in DPs that have done stunning music videos and pushed them into doing feature films. And I recently succeeded doing that and made like a long-term strategy with a couple of DPs that were strong in these shorter formats and in music video, taking the value, the essence of their aesthetic language and translating it into something that becomes relevant on a completely different project is something a good agent can do, but it's just so super tricky, and it needs to be done with respect to that project you're kind of pitching for. And I think that's really important also, to have a humble approach when you're pitching in on something that you kind of feel, you know, if you're pitching with music, like pitching, that sounds weird, but you know what I'm saying. It's like if you have like a strong track record of music videos and you want to do a feature film and you send music videos to a producer, you need to do it in a way where you kind of respect where you're coming from and where they are and the concerns they're having, and you go with that concern. And it's not about tricking them, it's not about persuading them, it's about being open. And then it's also for us, you know, the people we work with, we believe in, like we have a strong belief. So when we do it, if they get on the project, we know that they're going to deliver. I would never push someone if I had doubt that they would deliver.
Right.
Or
absolutely. And the producer wouldn't come back to us if we did that as well.
Yeah.
You know, who we suggest and who they work with reflects on us as well.
Of course,
and I think part of our job is looking at the bigger picture and not being short-sighted. It's not just about this job, it's about what this job does in the series of where we're trying to go and what we're trying to accomplish. And you know, you can trick somebody, but nobody benefits in that, and that's not what a professional agent or DP would do. You know, like Casper was saying, I mean, I think the world of my clients. I think that they are literally potential Oscar winners. I am so sure of it. And when I get on the phone and try to tell people they have to use this person or they really need to meet this person, and people hear it in my voice. I'm so sure, you know.
They believe you.
and maybe they won't get that project, and I look at it as that wasn't the right project for them at this time. You know, not that this director and DP aren't going to work together or whatever the case may be. It's just right now, but keeping in mind that there's a bigger picture, that there's years and years ahead of developing relationships and connections and meeting these producers and directors that I may be talking to now, but maybe you will be right for them in 2 years, or you're right for them now, and in 5 years, maybe you won't be, you know?
Yeah.
But those are the factors you have to take into consideration when talking to the buyers as well.
Yeah. I think a fun thing to mention is, I don't know if people know this or realize this, because, you know, as a European agent, I share a lot of talent with American agents as well, and we act like we're on the same team. Like we fight for the talent we work with.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of hyped younger DPs at the moment in Europe, but the good American agents, like you would totally understand. We just had this discussion, Kristen, about a DP that I feel is gonna, in my opinion, he is, and I could mention a couple of the biggest talents one of the biggest talents in Europe right now, but he's not ready for the American market. And I would much rather wait 1-2 years. I'm waiting for this project and this, and then I know he has the experience. I know his reel is going to be heavy, and I know because there's a lot of American agents that are really good at, you know, finding and this, and then they kind of tend to take people in. We do that at Europe as well, and it's like a lottery ticket. Hey, well, maybe we can push this, maybe it would work out. But then they kind of you get, as a DP, you get kind of pitched in on projects where you're maybe not going to be the one chosen.
Yeah.
But it's about getting the name out there. Like, you have to familiarize people with the name.
They need to be familiar with the name,
and it's
but
a
you
process.
But you don't want to be fronted on jobs that you're actually not gonna get. Like, it needs to be realistic. I feel
absolutely, it has to be realistic, and you have to match. But I like looking at somebody like a DP who's destined for the States at some point.
Yeah.
And I hear what you're saying, but I think knowing that you are going to be looking at this in a year or 2 years is to start laying the groundwork, to start looking at the U.S.
Exactly.
directors, start using the U.S. companies.
Totally.
And start relationships with some U.S. agents.
Exactly.
But not necessarily working together
But
yet.
that's a general thing with agents is we talk with a lot of DPs that the timing it might not be right now,
Right.
but we feel that in 1 or 2 years it's the perfect timing. Some of them don't have patience, and then they go to someone else, and also it's so important to say it's also a matter of emotions and timing and weird things that fit together. But
on both sides.
I would, as a DP, never be too much in a hurry to get an agent. I would be ambitious, and I would be stressed about following a strong creative ambition.
For sure.
And I would.
The agent thing works itself out when it's supposed to.
You can get so much advice from people like us, but it might be too early to get representation. Actually, it might be better to wait just a little bit.
And the experience you get, because one of the things that we find in the States is that people think that when they join us that they no longer have to do a lot of the things that they were doing prior.
Yeah.
And the thing is, as a DP is a department head. He is it is a critical position on set in any production. They have to have experience talking to the producers, talking to anybody who's funding the project, to be able to go back and forth between the producer and the director and seeing some of the politics. We talked a little bit yesterday about the experience on set that you can't get elsewhere. So these sort of things come with maturity, just focusing on your job as a DP, and making these relationships and honing in on the professionalism that comes with it, if that makes sense. We add a different element to it. We can't solve certain problems for you, and we need to know that you're able to solve these as the department head without us. And I think giving them that experience, like, they have to be able to sometimes negotiate their own jobs. They have to invoice after jobs. They need to know how the money works, if unions are involved. This is not something that I can just take over for you, because you're gonna find yourself you're gonna find yourself at a disadvantage to the guys that have all of this understanding, plus an agent.
Yeah. How does it work, like, when you have an agent, like, in general, you guys live from a commission, right, of those jobs?
10% of what you earn.
Yeah.
Okay.
10% of what you earn goes into the agency.
Okay.
And that's just general. Nothing more, usually nothing less. It's 10% on the jobs booked. That doesn't include per diems and kit rentals and whatnot. And even if you do, it may be different for Casper, but I negotiate equipment and camera time, and that's never commissioned. Overtime is often commissioned. Does that answer?
Cool. Yeah, it's just curiosity. I think a lot of people are like, do I have to pay you monthly, or stuff like that? Yeah.
No, it's just based on the job.
Yeah, but just for our audience, I think a lot of people, of course, this was mentioned in the panel, but these guys haven't seen the panel, so
yes.
How is it? If somebody feels it's the right time to approach you to get an agent, because probably they have jobs, they're getting jobs, they're probably not getting the jobs they want to do or they are aspiring to do. So what is the process to actually approach you guys? What's the first step? And what do you want to? You guys get gazillions of emails. So what do you actually want to see from somebody in order to consider them? A long email?
No, don't write a long email. Knowing who you've been working with is important for me. If somebody emails me and they say, hey, I'm so-and-so, whatever the case may be as to why they're reaching out or why they feel they need an agent. I've recently been working on these jobs with these directors. Below are some stills from my projects. Go take a look at my site. And then if they're going to be in LA in a certain time frame, that's important. If they are based somewhere, but that's when we start the dialogue and we start asking questions and going back and forth if there's interest. If there's not, I look at everybody's work that emails me. if there's not, it's, you know, right now is probably not the right time for us.
Cool. So basically, attach a bunch of stills.
Not 1,000, but I mean, you know, a couple of stills. Be specific.
Yeah, be specific, and in my opinion,
Selective.
I totally agree on the who you work with, but also tell me where you want to go. If you have an idea, often people don't really know where they want to go, and they might not be able to be specific about where they want to go. But we recently started a collaboration with a Finnish editor, and he told us, okay, this might sound weird, I've never told anyone, but I'm a huge sci-fi fan, and I would love to do an American sci-fi. Like, fingers crossed, he's getting on a project right now, like this fast. Again, if you say what you want,
Totally.
it's gonna happen.
I mean, and it gives us,
yeah.
that's how we find out about you, that's how we know what you want.
Yeah.
Being as communicative as possible about what you love, what you saw that you like, what you're interested in, what you would leave your family or whatever it is you've got going on to go shoot, because sometimes you could be gone 8 months. If it's some, you know, finding what you are really passionate about is really, that's critical.
Cool.
You can't really represent without that.